Meanwhile, addressing the media at the Chogam Media Centre this evening, Minister Mahinda Samarasinha said that Sri Lanka had a domestic process which has been put into place to address the challenges in a post-conflict scenario, adding that Sri Lanka is no longer a colony of any country.
Sri Lanka is no longer a colony of any country. We are an independent nation and we have enjoyed this independence since 1948. And we have a constitution, we are guided by this constitution, we have laws in this country which we are guided by, and we are not there to be dictated to by anyone as far as timelines or timetables are concerned. As I mentioned earlier, we have a domestic process which has been put into place to address the challenges in a post-conflict scenario. We are committed towards moving towards comprehensive reconciliation, and we have a timetable of our own, and we are justifiably proud of what we have achieved in a period of 4 years, and we will continue to work towards overcoming further challenges. So we are moving rapidly forward, and we are quite confident that we will be able to move towards comprehensive reconciliation. So I must be very clear that we are not subject to pressures from outside. We are not receptive to such pressures either. We understand our people better than anyone else. We are more committed than anyone else towards our people.
Secretary to the President, Lalith Weeratunga, also convening a press conference at the same venue, commented on the land problems in the north.
During the LTT period, in the northern province in particular, they had their own favorites. They had their own heroes or whatever. If the LTT wanted a piece of land to be given to person A, and the land is owned by person B, legitimately owned, they would simply evict the man from B, ask the man A to go and occupy that land. As you know, a lot of people will come back. He comes to his own village or whatever, hometown, and says, "This is my land. I want this back." Now, unfortunately, the land registers in most of these areas were burnt by the LTT, and therefore we have a huge problem in accessing authentic government records. What we rely on are what people will say. Unfortunately, some of those people, when they fled, you run for your life. You don't wait to correct your document. Government has to do whatever it does in a very legitimate manner. They can't simply evict that man who is presently in that piece of land. Government will have to ask him, look, have you got any kind of documentation or any evidence or any proof of ownership? And that is why I say land issues are very complex. It will also take a long time for us to settle them. But I must tell you, the best progress that we have seen, strangely, is also in the land area.
Now, responding to calls made by the British Prime Minister for an international inquiry into Sri Lanka's human rights record, Sri Lankan High Commissioner to the UK, Dr. Chris Noni, said that for anyone to give or pass judgment on a particular country, it is important for them to come and achieve a balance.
Yes, the Sri Lankan diplomat made this comment at a press conference convened at the Chogam Media Centre at the BMICH this afternoon.
Sri Lanka, having been 4 years post-conflict, this is a domestic situation, and there's no requirement whatsoever to internationalize a domestic process. I agree with the point that this is not a place, Sri Lanka is not at that position where we need to in any way internationalize the post-conflict situation. We already have a comprehensive LLRC to address that, and there are other committees that have been subsequently appointed. This is not a place to internationalize, that we are in no position whatsoever to have to accede to any form of internationalization of the investigation of Sri Lanka. But that does not stop an individual from quoting a particular TV station or a particular booklet. It is not quoted not only by Cameron but by many other people. It's what we get all the time. But the point is, what I'm saying is, we need to also be on the offensive in terms of what progress has been made. for anyone, if they want to give or pass judgment on a particular country, I think it is important for them to come and achieve a balance. I think what is very important is whoever comes to the country, rather than simply visiting Colombo and visiting one area like one particular conflicted area like the north, I think it is equally important before they seek to comment on the country to appraise themselves by also visiting the east and visiting the south and meeting the indigenous Tamil, Muslim and Sinhalese people even of Colombo, because it is only then that they will realize that people have been living together here for so many years.
Let's now take a quick look at the newspaper cartoon of the day.
Welcome back. You're with News First. A policeman and his wife were beaten to death last night in the Ulala area in Kamburupitiya, Matara.
Yes, the police officer was attached to the corruption eradication unit of the Matara Police Division.
The police media unit says that a certain group had broken into the police constable's residence in Ulala, Kamburupitiya last night. The police media unit added that the constable, his wife and their 2 children were inside the house at the time. The group that broke in had then attacked the constable and his wife. Their 2-year-old son was also assaulted and is currently in critical condition at the Karapitiya Teaching Hospital. The victims have been identified as Liana Arachike Sunil of Valigama, a constable attached to the corruption eradication unit of the Mathura Police, and his wife. The attack had been carried out shortly after the 33-year-old constable had returned home from work. His wife, Udupitiya Appulage Apsara, was 29 years old. Their elder son had survived the incident without injury.
I heard a noise. It was as if someone was banging on a tin roof. Then I saw 2 people walking fast along our road while talking to each other. There was also a 3-wheeler parked nearby. Suddenly the 3-wheeler switched on the lights and took off. Thereafter I came back inside and checked the time. It was around 10:30 p.m. Then I locked the doors, carried my child and asked my mother to accompany me to go and have a look around the boutique. I stopped near the victim's house and looked around. There were no lights on, but I heard a child crying. There was a light on in a room and the door was partially open.
Police dogs were also used today to pick up the trail of the suspects in this double murder. This dog picked up a scent which led to a neighboring house. The magisterial inquest was held this morning. The police say that 8 teams have been deployed to apprehend the suspects, adding that several officers from the Mathura Crimes Division had been included in these teams.
5 people were killed in an accident which occurred this morning in Haragama, Thalatuoya.
Meanwhile, 20 others who were injured in the accident have been hospitalized.
The accident occurred in the Haragama area in Thalatuoya along the Rondenigala Kandy Road. A van travelling from Badulla to Kandy had collided with a bus plying from Kandy to Haragama. The police say that the driver of the van had lost control of the speeding van at a bend in the road and had collided with the bus. The passengers in the van were a group returning from a funeral in Badulla. The police say that 29 persons residing in Gohagoda Kadugastota were travelling in the van. 2 women and 3 children travelling in the van were killed in the accident. The wife and 12-year-old son of the driver of the van were among those killed. The other victims were 50-year-old R.G. Ramelata, 35-year-old R.G. Inoka and 10-year-old Nilmini Deshani. The injured were admitted to the Kandy General Hospital and 9 were later transferred to the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital. I was travelling in the van. We collided with the bus and the door of the van came off. I was thrown out of the vehicle. That is all I can remember. Director of the Kandy General Hospital, Dr. R.M.S.K. Ratnayaka said that 4 persons admitted to the Kandy General Hospital are currently being treated at the intensive care unit. The driver of the bus has been arrested in connection with the incident. The Thalatoya police are conducting further investigations.
Speaking at an event held in Ingiri yesterday, UMP MP Sajid Premadasa expressed the following views.
The environment was created by this government for the British Prime Minister's vehicle to be surrounded. This government has won the war but has lost the peace. The image that is being portrayed to the world now is that the people of the north and east are not being treated well by the Sri Lankan government. In truth, the present government must be held responsible for these events.
UNP parliamentarian Buddhika Patharana attended an event in Galala, Akurasa today.
If the UNP can win with UNP votes alone, then the UNP should have won over the past 19 years. We have lost votes, but we have not gained votes. We are unable to remove the insinuation that we may have had an agenda and secret agreements with the murderous tigers. We are still unable to free ourselves of these rumors. The persons who have stuck this label on us will forever be cursed by UNP supporters.
Now speaking at the event held in Meetiyagoda yesterday, UMP Southern Provincial Councillor Bandula Bandarigoda expressed the following views. The true enemy of the UNP today are certain elements who point the finger at others. Persons who have been in the SLFP government, destroyed it and have now snuck into the UNP and are trying to undermine the Sinhala Buddhist voter base of this party day by day due to a personal grudge. I can say this fearlessly. I am personally against the actions of these persons.
A public rally organized by the Democratic Party was held in Kirindivera yesterday.
The meeting was organized by the former General Secretary of the Youth Front of the United National Party and current organizer of the Democratic Party for the Dompe electorate, Indika Bandara.
The traditional political parties that have governed this country have put you in a very difficult position. You must decide whether you are going to retain this government which is responsible for violating the rights of workers and shooting workers who ask for their rights. The government which shot people who ask for water. You must decide whether you will retain the government that has divided the Sangha and destroyed all sectors including education and health. The police officers here are carrying out their duties well. They are controlling the crowd and looking into our needs and the people's needs. If on the off chance they raid a casino that is affiliated to certain people, what will happen to them? They will have to pack up their boxers and their children and leave to far off areas. This is the time that we are living in. We must stand against this. Your economy has collapsed. Your expectations have collapsed. Corruption is widespread in the country. We are not moving towards becoming the miracle of Asia. We are moving towards becoming the hell of Asia. Per capita income in Singapore is $48,000. Per capita income in China is $32,000. Per capita income in South Korea is $28,000. Per capita income in our country is $2,000.
Several members of other political parties obtained membership of the Democratic Party at this event.